Good evening. Welcome to Nigeria 2015's Open Studio as it continues with our coverage of the elections. I'm Chamberlain Oso. Well, a lot indeed has happened today in the course of the accreditation and voting, but we'll come to all of those in just a moment. But I'll take it.
Yes, indeed. Well, earlier we were supposed to be speaking with Yomi Otaigbe, who is on the field, to find out what's happening where she is. I don't know if she's ready now. Yomi? Hello, Yami. Yami, what's happening in your location now? Maybe it's really noisy and she's probably not able to hear us clearly. Yomi, can you hear us? Okay, I'm sure we'll get to speak with you, in the course of the program. But as you said, quite a lot of things have happened.
Well, yes, and in the meantime, while going through the roads, and of course many of our reporters have said the same thing, they also did see how the roads were deserted almost every part of the country today because of the restriction and the voting that is taking place as we speak. So the roads are deserted for that purpose. And then, of course, the card reader challenge that is also going on. INEC has released a statement. They commented on that matter in terms of what needs to be done about the card readers. Don't forget also there were many who were under the rain voting today. But earlier today, we also did have some who have sent us pictures of those what they describe as underage voting. They wonder what is really going on about that. Yes, you also do have the president eventually was able to be accredited, then taking the other subsequent actions. And then in Enugu, there was this confusion concerning what really happened. Was the vehicle containing ID, did it explode? Did they defuse two of them, as it were? The police also making a comment on that. So we'll bring you up to speed concerning what's happening with all of those matters that have happened earlier and also happening now. But then, the card reader is the big one today. Previously, that was even way before today. Remember, there were many comments about what needs to be done, how the card reader ought to function. But then, INEC did have this card reader demonstration previously, one of those Saturdays in March, where they did say that test that they conducted in different parts of the country, choosing certain states for that test, that field test, they had done simulated test. And then there were 4 objectives for those card reader tests which INEC conducted. First of which was to verify that the PVCs presented by voters is indeed theirs, and to the extent that nobody will come with a clone card and succeed voting with that card. So INEC did say to a large extent they were successful with that part. There you go. And then the second part, which perhaps brings us to where we are today with that INEC's comment on the card readers. The second part of it was to biometrically authenticate that the person who is present or who presents a PVC at the polling unit and ensure that he or she is the legitimate holder of the card. So in this regard, they say there were a few issues in some states during that public demonstration. But overall, 59% of voters who turned out for the demonstration had their fingerprints successfully authenticated. But the Commission, in agreement with registered political parties, had provided in the approved guidelines for the conduct of the 2015 elections that were biometric authentication of a legitimate holder of a genuine PVC. That's the second objective of that card reader test that INEC conducted in that weekend in March. The third was that the smart card readers provide disaggregated data of accredited voters in the male and female and elderly and youth categories. As a matter of fact, some say, look, this objective, the third objective of that card reader test that was conducted across the country at that time was to eliminate what someone did send a picture about, underage voting. The Commission did say as much as well, so that this will help eliminate all of those. And then the fourth objective is that the smart card reader sends the data of all accredited voters to INEC's central server, equipping the Commission to be able to audit figures subsequently filed by polling officials at the polling unit and thereby be able to determine if fraudulent alterations were made. The public demonstration, they say, was successful in that regard. So, looking at all of those, yes, the commission eventually gave their verdict on the card reader, saying it was successful, but they had a particular challenge, peculiar one in Ebonyi, and then the weekend after that was conducted, they had a rerun of that card reader. But it wasn't in all parts of the country that those card reader tests were conducted. So here we are today with the real field tests of the card readers, and boy, what reactions we have about all of those. So let me go ahead and introduce the panel of analysts who we have here today to comment on what they've seen, heard, and what's going on right now or earlier today with respect to the card readers and the voting exercise going on today across the country. From my extreme left, Professor Oyelawo Oyewo is a former Dean, Faculty of Law, University of Lagos. Thank you for coming on this evening.
Thank you very much.
And then we have Professor Patience Akwanabong, a political scientist in Arizona State University, also joining us today. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you.
Well, it's a big day, the day that everyone had been waiting for. But eventually, people hit the streets. We also did see at the time, yeah, all of these tests, simulations, field tests in some selected states notwithstanding, when the day comes, it comes with its own challenge. And it came today. Let's start with you. What's your objective? I beg your pardon. From what you've seen and heard, did you expect that after they've conducted all those field tests and then they've seen the errors, it should be a piece of cake today?
Yeah, that's what we normally would have expected. But as you know, with human beings, there are always the imponderables, the things. For instance, rain falling. I don't think they made provision for that. But in a lot of the polling units that I have heard about, the INEC officials did not show up. And I just got a text shortly before we came on about a polling unit where INEC officials did not show up until about 2:40, and the people are being told that accreditation will end at 4 o'clock. So those are things, I don't know what would have created such problems. INEC officials probably knew where they were going to go at the beginning of the day. So I don't know why it took several hours for them to show up in different polling units. Again, you are human beings. We are open to all kinds of, we're vulnerable. But there are some problems that have occurred that should not have occurred. For instance, the card readers not working. I was one of those who supported the use of the card readers. And I'm really disappointed that even though there had been the testing way before today, that there are still some problems. So what I don't understand is that were those problems there when they did the testing? And how come somebody like the president could even, I mean, it took a while before they could, find him in the system. But the good news is that there are other places where things have gone smoothly. Like some of the posts, the social media stream that you've been showing all day, and there are people who have gone to different polling units, and within 40 seconds or how many minutes, they've got everything done. So I don't know how widespread the problem is, but some of the problems should not have occurred. Other problems were, just since we can't forecast or predict all kinds of problems, but there are some problems that should not have occurred in the first place.
All right, Professor Yoa, I'm going to get your comment, but I'd like you to connect it with the comment we're about to hear from the chairman of the commission, that's INEC, Professor Tari Jaga, on the card readers. Let's take a look.
We have introduced the use of technology to minimize, if not totally eliminate, fraud or fraudulent conduct associated with Nigerian elections. The use of the card reader will eliminate a lot of fraudulent activities. People cannot buy other people's cards and go and use them in election. And we can, when somebody presents his permanent voter's cards, we can authenticate it and establish that, yes, this was the person to whom the card was originally issued. So we cannot do that with temporary voter's card.
So there you go, some of the comments about the objectives of the card reader tests. Today, Professor Yoa, would you say that all of those comments have passed the test?
Well, I want to share my personal experience to validate some of those, objectives. I had the opportunity of being accredited and voting using the card reader, and it worked. I was at the voting polling station, polling unit, and I was surprised when I got there that there were not many people waiting because the card reader started working at that polling unit the moment they set up. So by the time we got
when
there,
did they set up?
they set up around after 8.
Oh,
So they set up on time. And we got there, we said, let's give them an hour. We got there around 10. And by the time we got there, there was not much queue. And we were able to get